Kelly Rose, men that we had our first cup of coffee with. They felt like your brother or your uncle. Man, it's getting personal now, and you sort of begin to feel like, geez, you know, a few months ago, a year ago, I thought this was in my past when I started on Wall Street, the dwarf throwing parties, the strippers on the trading floors. I thought it was over, and now it's these men. A friggin' lock under his desk to close the door. This is creepy and weird and bad.
Our business has taken it hard recently, as we pointed out. But what about your business? I mean, you raised this idea of years ago and strippers and the like, but Wall Street was always thought of, to a certain extent, as being a tough place for a woman to work. Did you see it? Are you surprised that there haven't been more revelations coming from Wall Street as opposed to just seemingly from the media?
Well, I think everybody's waiting for who's next, and at this stage, you don't know who it could be. During the course of my career, it went from Xerox copies of male genitalia on my desk to the CEO of the client saying, come up to my room and we'll go over the numbers at midnight, to then much more subtle stuff, where the new boss wouldn't invite you to the meeting you were supposed to be in, or he would send his squad to deliver a message. And so it became harder to figure out where it was. What I can tell you is today there are no female CEOs of big Wall Street firms. 90% of traders are male, and 86% of financial advisors are male. This hurts the industry. It hurts the industry. The entire reason I founded Ellevest is because in an industry that's 85 to 90% male, do you think we're doing as good a job as we could in helping women invest? We're missing business opportunities because of this that hurt the industry itself.
One common theme that's been interesting in a lot of this is that often there were complaints, maybe not directly to HR, but maybe there was a complaint to management on some level that kind of went ignored or wasn't reacted to right away. And I'm wondering, is that changing right now?
Oh, it's definitely changing right now. But the reason it happened is because if you're a mediocre or poor performer and you have this compulsion to drop your pants in front of women, they fire you pretty fast. It's really the high performers, of course, where that behavior has been tolerated. And what I think the companies are seeing now is the cost is greater than they thought. Tens of millions paid out Bill O'Reilly. The lawsuits still to come for these companies. But again, the thing that we have yet to reckon with is what the ongoing cost has been of pushing so many women, so many people of difference out of the workforce. What have we lost as an economy and productivity? What have we lost as a society? What have we lost of our soul by the fact that we have pushed these people out and not given them a safe space in which to work?
Ideas that we'd never heard because of the environment we lived in.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right.
You believe we are now in a new environment, though?
Oh,
I think relapse
on this part, but I think the road can be long. Think about the big Wall Street payments, the 1980s Smith-Barney boom boom room, 1980s, right? And you've seen payments since then, but they've been smaller. It's been more about pay discrimination, et cetera. But again, it's not as though those 1980 payments were made. And by the way, tens of millions spent, court-ordered, to get these companies more gender diverse, and it never happened. And so we're decades past the 1980s, and Wall Street is still very male. Very male, and so we're still missing the brains of that part of the population. So I think it's not over. I think it's barely begun.
Wait, what has barely begun?
The reckoning, the bringing business so that where it's no longer mantocracies, but true meritocracies. And that's going to be a long-term initiative.
I'm just thinking about the parallels between Wall Street in the 80s and tech, or even Wall Street last cycle and tech today. I mean, that's where you have huge companies making a ton of money, very powerful people who it matters a lot that they're protected, and there's already been plenty of reports about some of the culture there. So again, if you're sitting there right now looking at everything that's happening in media, in Hollywood and so forth, you know, I don't know what those companies need to do to maybe look back or have that discussion with their workforce to say, we need to be aware of everything that's happened. We don't care who it is, how powerful, at what level, we need to hear all these stories.
But it has to be zero tolerance, because what doesn't work are the reams of subtle gender bias training and diversity this and diversity that. It's now clear that hasn't worked nearly to the extent that we want it to. But it's interesting, Kelly, you draw that, you know, parallel between Wall Street, tech, I'd say the venture capital businesses. Both businesses, think about it, they control massive sums of money, pick winners and losers, are controlled by white men. right? Where's the fairness in that?
Do you see a disconnect in the accountability in journalism and media, maybe Hollywood, and politics, where you don't have a boss whom you answer to daily? The American voter, but I'm talking about...
I actually think these things are related. What I'm seeing, I talk to a lot of professional women, and I'm engaging with them a lot. And what I see, whereas we step back and we say, well, the white women voted for Trump. Hold on. Professional women, and particularly these successful professional women on the coast, did not. And what I've seen is Trump, you know, harasser in chief, was elected to the White House. These women looked around and said that was surprising. We marched. We then looked around for where's our Gloria Steinem, and she didn't show up. And so there was a little bit of a lag, and then one after another, starting with Gretchen Carlson, Susan Fowler, you start to see these women who begin to name their accusers. What's enabling this is social media and the proliferation of media. Because back in my day, you know, what are you you're gonna go to one newspaper and hope they print it, and everybody stepped back. Here, what's changed is the sense of frustration amongst professional women of, we haven't made the progress we wanted to. This guy was elected, even though he allegedly groped women.
We should at least mention Conyers and Franken, right? No move to resign.
No, this is an equal opportunity male, you know,
bipartisan.
Absolutely. But I think this calling out really began, the seeds of it were the election of Trump, as a backlash to it. I don't know. I'd go so far to say if Hillary had been elected, I'm not sure we'd be seeing this.
And so are you hearing a lot more stories as well? I mean, are people starting to share their experiences, or women in particular?
We women have been sharing them for years.
You have?
Oh, my gosh. You know, friends of yours and mine.
Well, you might warn people in a certain area to stay away from somebody.
You know, it's funny. We did back in the day, but then as we got more senior, I hate to say it, it was more, hey, little lady, you know, back in the day when I was on Wall Street, they had dwarf throwing parties. I'm glad that's over. You know, and you thought, really, I think we all thought, up until a few months ago, that was in the past, and these things, we just matured beyond them to some degree.
Well, a lot of the examples, though, are from years ago, right? We're still looking way back on some of these cases.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's
15 and some
years.
Are from very recent.
True.
Right.
I'm curious, on that conversation that women have with each other, how does it go if one woman is thinking about raising her hand and saying what happened?
A few years ago, it was do not do it. Why would you want to? I remember I had a job offer that was given to me years and years ago that was then rescinded because they found out I had a baby at home. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go get him. And all my friends said, only if you never want to work on Wall Street again. That was the advice. Today, the advice is, you go, girl, right? You take it to a reporter, you take it to Twitter. And what's really different is we're all behind you, and we will amplify you, and we will support you, and we'll hire you. And that's a big difference versus a few years ago.
Does it matter if you want to put your name to it? Can you do accusers who request anonymity have less credibility or not? Does it matter?
You know, the numbers are now getting to be so big that if you have a story that has 2, 3 people naming themselves and a bunch of anonymous accusers, done.
That sounds a little dangerous. Some people could exact retribution in a way that...
Indeed, it is, which is why it's good that these stories are so well reported and documented, right? You see the Washington Post finding someone who was out to trick them.
There's value in great journalism.
But
I think we can all agree on that.
in terms of the feeling dangerous, you know, some women have felt like there's danger at work for a lot of years. So...
Do you sometimes wish you were entering the street now as opposed to back then?
Are you saying, do I wish I was younger?
No. Do you wish the culture had been different back then? The culture, the way it appears to be shaping up now?
It's hard to look back. I've had such an unbelievable career. I mean, I really was one of the very fortunate ones. So, of course, I had my ups and downs. So it's hard for me to say that I trade anything that happened with something else. I have to tell you, I love what I'm doing now as an entrepreneur, founding Ellevest. We see this massive market opportunity because women don't invest to the same degree that men do. The street has overlooked this opportunity. And to be able to engage with these women and really feel like you're doing good. Because, by the way, what is something that has united the women who have called these men out? The fact they've been economically able to do so. Let's not forget the women cleaning the hotel rooms, you know, waiting the tables, etc., in this country who cannot afford to call out their harassers. These women are able to, so money matters here, and that's what we're trying to do to help at Ellevest.
Right. No, that financial independence is key because it's a risk event, right?
Absolutely.
Stepping forward is a big risk event.
Note that Susan Fowler, when she came out against Uber, already had another job.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.